YouTube video out now, man. Like, comment, subscribe.
Alright, the crew got bags. Set and ready. Yes, sir. Everybody set up. Back on the food. Go. There we go. We got the food back. We got the food back. We're in the boat. Let's get back with you. You look now right with you. I got a million trade things I motherfucking do. And I get fucking with you. Okay, we go. Listen, man, I think we're taking it.
few more days, and I'm out.
Back outside working on the TT, and what I've done today so far is I removed the intake manifold. I had it on temporarily, and I removed the original studs that I purchased for there. I purchased 60mm studs in length. They were a little too short, so I ordered some 80mm in length studs. These are M8, and these were long enough to fit my plenum with my fill rail and my spacers. So on my unit itself, because this adapter plate was machined, it's not thick as the original plastic intake manifold. I had to machine some shims, and with the shims also I used the original fill rail, and this matches up pretty much close to the factory thickness. This should compress everything nice and tight and give a good seal. With the longer studs, they should protrude out. Well, they do, already test fitted. They stick out long enough for me to at least start my nuts on there and thread the nuts onto the studs itself. I have a few options. I could have used a flange style nut with the flange or flared in. I like using these. They really work good. But in this application, I'm going to use the nylock nuts. Reason for that, these are stainless steel. I do not want any type of vibration or harmonics causing these to come loose, and we end up getting an intake manifold leak. It's a tight area to get to tighten everything back up once everything's in position. So I'd rather have a locking style nut that will not just easily vibrate back off or rotate back off of the stud. We're going to go ahead and install the intake manifold and keep moving. I removed a few accessories to gain easier access to the 3 bottom studs, and it's, like I said, a necessary evil. Some people have to tear apart an engine or remove an entire engine just to gain access to a turbocharger or to replace something like that. So, you know, you have to take it as it comes. With this out the way, I can clearly gain access to all 3 studs. As you can see, the 2 back here, which is a little more, trying to hold this up and get a zoom in right there. That's my far one, my center one right here, and this one is exposed. So this one is very easy, no big deal. I have to rotate a quarter turn on each, just wrench a quarter turn at a time just to start threading this in. That is crazy, and it's time consuming. I've done it before on many occasions, and I do not want to have to fight just to get off this intake manifold if we ever have to take it off. I have a few different style lock washers, so I'm going to experiment with some of the parts I bought. Typical flat washer, you have your lock washer here, and these washers are pretty nice. I've seen these on a lot of the aircraft applications. When I worked at the airport, worked out there for well over 15 years, and got a chance to see a lot of nice things. We have all the bottom bolts tight. This went a lot better with those washers because I could just spin the nuts on a lot faster, and then once it got down to this part, it just started crushing that washer, and everything is locked into place very, very tight. So I can see that my flange is tightly up against my cylinder head back in there, and my nuts are pretty tight on the studs. So top is tight. We can go ahead, put back the thermostat, put my alternator back on, and keep moving forward. Before installing my throttle body housing, I am making a few connections so that way I can still get to some of the accessories a little easier. I went ahead and connected my injectors 2, 4, and 6, which is on the bottom. So this was tight, but I was able to finagle up and snap each one of the injector plugs into position. So when I made up the manifold, I wanted to make sure at least I had enough clearance to remove or install the injector connections for the direct injector. So I have the wires just feeding over loosely for when I go to spaghetti, temporarily wire this up for startup. Next thing I'm looking at also is my oil return for my turbocharger. So right now I have a 45 coming off of it. I notched out my turbo bracket so that it's clearance for my turbo return, my oil feed return. What I may have to do over in this tight squeeze right here, I may either put it straight and come directly down under and just come over here, and I should have done this before I put on my oil pan, weld the bung right on the front of here for the oil return. I want to get the oil return up as high as possible. Unfortunately, and as a necessary evil, you would have to probably unscrew just the return line right here, drop out this for replacing the oil filter housing. Nothing major or complicated. I could put it over here, but it wouldn't be up as high as I would like. So if I can get it up a little bit higher right here, well, doing a 10 AN fitting, that way I'll get it up a little bit higher. And what the heck, just unloosen it, pull it back, screw it down, drop out, change your oil filter. And it's not like it's something that has to be done on a monthly basis right off the bat. So I'm about to mount my throttle body, and now I'm gonna have to go old school and make up for my bag of gasket material, make up a gasket for this part of my flange right here. So it would have been nice if this was O-ringed. Would have been nice, yeah. Unfortunately, it's not. Maybe later on down the line, we'll have this machine for O-ring or something like that. The gas has been made up, and I have my O-rings in position, so everything turned out pretty good. We clearanced the corner just a little bit right in here so that this corner can clear my thermostat elbow. Let's take a look in here and see how we look. So this corner right here will clearance that pretty good. So I'll put some bolts in position to test it out, and we have some nice clearance for making contact. Before the corner was touching here, probably see a couple scrape marks on the very top. Yeah, you can right there from me moving back and forth and squeezing into position. But now we have proper clearance. We're going to go ahead, put some silicone, gasket, silicone, and bolt that bad boy in position. Let's keep making some progress. Making a little more progress. Right now I've just connected the turbo return line. I have a 45 coming off here and a 90. That way we can just come out and then rotate around and pivot. I needed that extra clearance to clear my battery cable, so this fits nice in between here without making any contact, as well as my compressor housing can fit on here and still allow me to clock it with this still being nice and tucked. So initially I had the 45 uptight angled over here. That would have put me directly in contact with my post for my starter terminal, but flipping it around the opposite way, bringing a 90, rotating it back, that'll allow me to come down nice and clean and still give nice oil return without any type of restriction. I made some fair progress today, but never as much as I want. But I was knocking out some little tedious things. So the new studs came in, intake manifold is bolted on nice and secure. I had to do a little trimming and modification to get the back part of this to clear. This neck originally faces upward, and I had to clock it down just so that way it can clear my intake manifold. That's something I had to do. Let's shine a little light back there in that corner. So this was rotated a little bit more up, and it would have been facing up here, and that's what I had to do, rotate it around. So therefore that did work out. I can come off of here with my coolant line and just continue to make all my connections that's needed. That turned out good. Of course, this is going to be for my oil cooler. So I ordered the oil cooler yesterday and a fan combination. So that will be a nice little setup. That's coming in also. I can use the Miltech to control that. If engine oil temperature is getting really hot, I can have my fan turn on at whatever preset temperature that we desire. This rotates nice. I'm able to clock this back and forth just to have a nice little bit of play for connecting my hose. This is what I wanted to make sure I had the proper clearance right back here. So you can see we're not making any contact, which is good. At first my hose, it was a tight squeeze between my battery cable and everything tucked back behind there, and we were able to get the clearance that we need. So this is tight and tedious. And we're making progress. So I'm going to wrap it up for tonight, give my brain a chance to cool off, relax. I have not eaten anything but just light snacks all day. So if you want to call munching on a couple cookies, eating, I guess we can call it that. Mainly hydrating myself with my water bottle over there. But I want to get up tomorrow and plan on making the modifications for running my stage injection with my direct injectors. So I came up with an idea. I think it'd be pretty nice if any of you guys want to try that and you utilize it for yourself if you're ever running or decide to run your direct injectors with some stage injection. So most people block these ports off. We're going to utilize them, and I'm going to use some of my electronic skills. Very, very simple modification, but it will get us with this big, huge fill rail that comes from here. Nice fill rail. You guys already seen it in older videos, and we'll be able to bolt this into position. So let's clean up all of my tools, pack up everything, and make prep to relax and start back tomorrow.